Hello, and welcome to another edition of What the Fate Are They Doing Now? Today I'm going to show you how I convert a goblin. As some of you may know, this little fella is called Gubbins. Gubbins is a mad inventor who specializes mostly in blowing people up and octopus-based postal systems. But let's be honest, mostly it's blowing people up. And it's always down to rockets with him. So he's got a little rocket, this miniature, and here it is. There is Gubbins' little rocket. Now, I've always found this rocket to be a bit tame, a bit static, and not really in keeping with the whole mad inventor kind of theme. So I wanted to do something different. I wanted to give him something that fizzes and pops and goes bang, mostly bang. So on New Year's Eve, and I know what some of you are thinking now, you're thinking, hang on, don't get ahead of yourself. This is very fast for you between idea and implementation. It's only April now, after all, New Year's Eve. But rest assured, it was New Year's Eve 2018, so we're par for the course, it's all good. Anyway, New Year's Eve, I was looking around and I found that rockets tend to be mostly fired from bottles. So we need a bottle rather than a ramp. So away comes the rocket. And I looked around and I found a little bottle. Big shout out to Tomaröljan at this point. Who's always good for small stuff, little things like this. And there we go, tin bottle. Now I drilled a hole in the bottom because yeah, there's a pin to go in that. This is me we're talking about, 0.6mm hole there. And I drilled another hole in the top that goes 3/4 of the way down into the bottle. And that will also take a pin, surprisingly enough. So we're now going to fit the bottle onto the base by putting a pin in the bottom of the bottle and then putting the other end of the pin in the hole in the base. So, some neat cutting action later to cover up a few minutes of effing and blinding and dropping the pin and dropping the bottle on the floor and everything. There's our bottle, there's our base, and the bottle is now attached to the base. So what we need now is the rocket. I was originally tempted to use the original rocket, just file everything away that isn't rocket to be left with the rocket itself, but that looked like too much work, and so instead I went and got a strip of brass. I love working with brass for this kind of thing because it's harder than the metal the miniatures are made of, so you can make, for example, long thin blades out of it that don't bend when you look at them a bit funny, and it's still soft enough to be worked with normal tools, so you don't need anything special. So I went and cut out things like this, 2 of them, one with a slot at the bottom and one with a slot at the top. And if you assemble them, you get a nice little base made up of 4 fins. I then went and got a 2mm brass tube and I cut it to size. You see it's pretty much exactly as long as the corpus of the original rocket. And then I cut these slots in the bottom of it, and these slots are of course meant to fit so that the brass tube can slot neatly onto the fins, which we will now attempt live. Yeah, that was maybe a bad idea. Cut, medic, and there we are, nice little rocket. Now, it doesn't have a top yet, that's because I'm going to cut the top of the original rocket and fix it to the top of this one, so that at least some bits of the old rocket get reused. Now, I'm going to solder this together. That's another nice thing about brass, you can solder it, which produces the strongest bond, stronger than any glue I know. And it also means that the core of my rocket is going to be solid metal, and that means I can drill another hole into it to put a wire in. Because I still need to somehow attach it to a bottle. Now, I could attach it something like this, so that it looks like it's coming straight out of the bottle, but, you know, boring. So this is supposed to fizz and pop and bang and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of stainless steel wire and bend it into a more interesting shape, something like this. Don't know if you can see that properly. And then one end of the wire goes into the bottle, pretty much like so. And then we'll try to position it to make it look a bit more interesting, so it whirs around his head and all that. There we are. And then the other bit of the wire goes up the rocket, and then the rocket is somewhere up here. Now, of course, the wire isn't going to stay like that. Yeah, there's going to be glue and whatnot. This is going to look great in the edit. So the wire isn't going to stay like that. I'm going to use glass wool from Christmas decorations to disguise the wire and make it look like there's a trail of smoke coming out of the rocket. And it can also be painted in yellow and red to make a flame shoot, make it look like a flame shoots out of the rocket, and you can glue little cogs and bits of metal to it so it looks like the rocket is using parts when it's flying. So that's going to all look great, but that's something I'm going to do on another day, so I'm leaving you with this for now. Thanks for watching, bye.